And we are live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Episode 13, The Road to Freedom and Liberty. Rise and Stand. This is a collaboration between Rice TVx and Bodhisattva Love. We're going to get this show started here in just a moment. We got links down below for both of our channels, depending on where you're watching this at, because we are live streaming currently on Rice TVx, Rice TVx 2, the sequel, the backup channel, and on Bodhisattva Love's channel. So again, depending on where you're watching at, make sure you subscribe to the other channels. Links are down below. Now, before we get into it real quick, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVx, and information is going to be listed down below in the video description on Rice TVx and Rice TVx 2 for BitSwap DEX, Monarch, and Presearch.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
Before we begin the stream, I wanted to let people know, originally we were going to do this live stream this past Tuesday, but unfortunately where Stan is located, we had that tropical storm going through, and he wasn't sure how things were going to, how they were going to turn out, what the consequences and effects of the storm was going to be. So we ended up having to reschedule to today. Go ahead and get rid of this thumbnail right here and throw up on the image. We got Stan eating some food over here. I'm gonna make sure I unmute Stan. Stan, I had you muted. I got you unmuted. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Just trying to get my smoothie in.
It's all good. I know it's early and you got to go to work in a couple hours. So
yeah, been a busy morning too.
Managing time.
You know, so how's it been, brother?
It's been good, man. I miss you.
Yeah, man. It's been crazy. I know we've both been busy with different things.
Well, and I
seems like I'm always busy with, maintaining my van or my RV. The RV's been the big one because of all the rain we've been getting lately. So I've been focusing on getting the water integrity of this thing. It's literally right in front of me, but been working on that every day pretty much.
That's cool. And I know you got heavily involved with the assemblies. We did a video a couple months ago. It was about a couple months ago that we did it. And so I encourage people to check out the previous 12 episodes we've done together in this series alone, in case you're just tuning in for the first time and hadn't seen any of the videos that me and Stan have done together. We both have, and this is something I told Stan it'd be good to mention before we kind of play catch up, is a lot of people from my channel knew that towards the middle of May, I was starting to get really burned out and was really needing a break. So I started slowing down on my content. I conveniently got a strike with my Max Egan interview, which gave me a 7-day forced break anyways, but it worked out in timing. And then I went to Miami, had a couple days of vacation, had work and then vacation, and then kind of didn't really make myself do anything that involved a lot of heavy research throughout June. I was kind of skating through, bringing on return guests, so it really wasn't causing me to go down a bunch of rabbit holes, because a lot of times that stuff can be time consuming. So all that stuff it all kind of got to me, and I needed to do what I did, and now I'm feeling a lot more refreshed. And you just recently kind of been in the same position, because talking to you, man, you were I don't know how you didn't burn out sooner, because you seem like you were burning the wick at both ends, when you were doing the stuff heavily with the assembly stuff. Trying to help people out and volunteering your time, and then it took its toll on you.
Yeah, man, I was doing at least 18 hours a day, if not more, straight up from the moment I woke up to the moment I passed out, literally, for months. Even before, I got involved with the assembly, I was kind of doing that. But when I did that, I was trying to learn so much at one time, trying to learn what it means to be a recorder and how to do all that kind of stuff. And then trying to maintain a life and learning how to live in the capacity as a living man in my private capacity, how to, so many things. I just, there's so many things trying to learn simultaneously, and it's been a lot. So I had to pull back, man. I haven't really been involved in the last month, 3 weeks, maybe. I just kind of just been doing my thing and unplugged for a little bit, and need to get myself together, because I was actually becoming a person. It's funny because, we talk about in the spiritual world, you don't want to be a person because that's a fiction. And then in this reality that we're in, if you become a person, that's also a fiction. So it's the interesting parallel between being a person. I guess even in the Bible, it's mentioned about person.
Yeah,
and
so persons.
Yes, exactly. Several times, actually. So I was actually becoming a person. I had to pull away because I realized I was becoming a person. So I had to pull back from that and realize again who I am. And I'm not that, and I'm not a person in both aspects. So
right.
Yeah.
And I noticed a little bit of a change in what you were doing, because, you had focused a lot on your spirituality. And from my perspective, it seemed like maybe that was taking a back burner with a lot of the things that you were doing, and kind of bled through, which made you start to self-realize, hey, something's not right here. I'm starting to lose myself, and I need to get myself back.
Exactly.
And one thing too about me and you and a lot of people who are, I'm not going to say this for everybody, but there's a special brand of people that are able to consume information and do it well. Me and you have been like pretty heavily involved in stuff for now over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually right about a little over the year mark now that I'm thinking about it. It's kind of like almost an anniversary. But it does get to be a time period where you do start to get information overload, because if you're continually working and not having a chance to really dissect and digest that information, it's kind of, for me, it's sitting in my head somewhere and it's taking up space. And the more space that gets taken up, then I start to get to those burnout modes. And then like I was overscheduling myself, and then just talking to like a plethora of different type of people. And it was just like a mental exercise, going from like, and I'll use a good example of that, like David Williams. Because from a lot of the things that we've studied and a lot of the people that we've interviewed, he's kind of coming from a completely different direction and almost tries to dismiss everything that we've been looking into, which I know is false, but I'm trying to gather the information.
Is he the one that talked about becoming an ambassador? Yeah,
the rights of self-determination, the micronation, the dominion of Melchizedek. And I'm not saying anything negative about him. It's just when you're a lot of what we had done in the past, I mean, even from like Anna von Reitz to Carl Lentz to Christopher James, there's connections, there's similarities. It may not be the same, but they're like in the same area. Whereas David Williams was in the sovereignty area, the freedom area, but over here, where everybody else is over here. And but that's, like I was telling him, I want to bring people on like that to challenge what I think I may know, and then to learn other things, because the idea of right to self-determination, being that it is international law, is something that can be utilized by us, so I mean, that's where I kind of feel like what we talked about before, about everybody kind of holding a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, when I was, during this whole course, there's been many times where I've questioned everything, right? And there's certain little factors that I see that within my perception that seem to be valid, that we as people, it makes sense to do, right? Like assembling our own courts, regardless, you could take every organization out of it. American States Assembly, National Assembly, Kim Go-Good, take all the titles and names out. It's just, what do we need to do as people, right? I feel that it was stealing my consciousness. Like, is this just another way to capture consciousness to keep us from our true self? Or is it something that needs to be done in a manner that, there's so many ways, because everybody has their different perspective and perception on how all this works, right? Even now, like, we all see it differently, right? So all I can do is explain how I see it, which is going to differ from everybody else that's here in the chat and that watches this video, because we're all in different locations and in our awareness of how this all works. I do not claim to know everything at all. I'm trying to figure it out, just like you are. We're
Right.
trying to talk to these people. So when David Williams talked about ambassadorship, I'm like, well, yeah, if I create my own flag and then I declare myself as a nation, right, as a people, because a people could be one people,
Right.
and then I just and how do I go about declaring my flag, right? Do I declare my flag and then say now I take that up to the fictitious entities and say, hey, this is my declaration, this is who I am, and then now I get that passport that's whatever the what is it, the purple one, the purple passport.
Well, I think I've got to talk to him. I got to talk to him and find out what kind of passport he has, but I think it's a diplomatic passport, and in order to achieve that, I mean, it's not just a matter of starting your own flag, because the Dominion of Melchizedek is a micronation. It's not recognized by the UN. But the thing that I was getting into is, in order to be an ambassador, you have to be recognized by other nations. So, and that's one of the things that David Williams and the Dominion of Melchizedek has been doing, is like in some African countries doing education, starting a school. And they're doing things within the country, and then government officials, or whatever the situation might be, recognize them as for who they are. And it helps to establish. Otherwise, anybody could just say, I'm starting a country. So and that's where he goes into the law of nations, Vattel's law of nations, and uses that as a template. And now the same thing that apparently our founding fathers did. It was mentioned in the Constitution. It is a basis for the formation of nations. It was written, I think, in the early 1700s. And but see, to me, like, there's been so much that has transpired since the 1700s. Why are we using a book from the 1700s to establish some sort of etiquette, or whatever the situation might be, to be able to form your own nation? You would think that, being that we're in 2021, that we could update some document from the 1700s to correlate to the modern world. Because one of the things that me and you have talked about is the idea of forming something. And do you need to have a piece of land to form a nation? Can we form virtual nations? So there's a lot of different things that I'm trying to look into, and that's one of the things that I'm really glad about meeting David Williams and be able to have the conversations, just because it's, like I was saying, I think it's another piece of that puzzle.
Well, if we look at, there's so many treaties and laws, there's so much out there. And just trying to think logically, right? So if we left off somewhere and they started off, and this is just me trying to logically think through this all. I'm not saying this is the way it has to be. So if there was, a way that something ended, like if you read the Jural Handbook, and I don't know where it came from, the Michigan Assembly, or, the Michigan Jural Assembly, or, Audubon Rights, or wherever this came from back in the 1700s, where they left off, where women and men of color could not sit in a jury, right? So the premise of what I'm reading is that we would go back, start from there, redo that election, and then vote in women and men of color, and then we would change that right then and there, and then now they'd be able to sit on the juries, right? And all of that, and we complete that process. We bring that back, or can you just abolish it and say, hey, that was the old way and this is the new way? I don't know. If this is on record and this was written in law, do we just go back and correct it and then move forward? Because, a lot of people think we're trying to go back to that way. No, it's like we go back and then we can have the utopia and build the world that we want. But we just got to say, hey, look, this was left open, right? So we just need to repair it and then we can move forward. So it's not about doing exactly like they did. It's just going back, correcting the wrong, righting the wrongs, and then starting over again, and doing this the way that we want this done as an agreement amongst the people, right? In whatever country that is, however they agree in their country to or nation to handle their affairs. You know, because each state, as I understand it, is its own nation, and it can make its own laws. Like Florida, here we are our own nation state. We have different laws than you up in North Carolina. And Texas,
and some of that's where kind of like in our research and stuff like that we've been finding, that's what they say. That's what they say, is the states are supposed to be able to govern themselves. But I mean, obviously we see the federal government stepping in.
Well, that's the fictitious government, right? So you've got the organic states, which is, I don't know if it was a corporation back with George Washington, but the charter is a charter, which is a corporate charter, right? Charter, Constitution of the United States is still a corporate charter. Is it not? Or am I misunderstanding?
The Constitution, a corporate charter?
Right.
I don't know. Now,
of the United States is a charter. So when you read, like, even the book,
you're talking about not the Constitution for the United States. You're talking about the potential second one,
or the third. So the Constitution 4 was the first. That was Ben Franklin's charter. And then you've got the of the United States and of the United States of America. So those are apparently the three that are supposed
do you know speculating what dates those came out? Like,
you know, I tried to do some diligence, but I only spent like 20 minutes and I didn't get far to find them. I've been trying to locate the three to see what the differences are. I have a friend, she's trying to find them as well. So if I do, I'll let you know. But
okay,
there's still more stuff that needs to be brought up to prove a lot of this stuff, right? And maybe it's going to take going to a library to get microfiche.
Yeah, I mean, that may be, you know, and that's doing and digging into researching 100% for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only way I see that happening. Now, I did do some diligence into the 14th Amendment. You can literally go to the Library of Congress and look up, I can't remember the page numbers, but if I do, I'll post it in the chat after the video, in the comments. But you can literally read that the 14th Amendment was never ratified. It's right there. You could pull it up online. I read it. I looked it up. It was because I was trying to research some other articles that were referencing some things, and I stumbled upon it, and I actually read it, you know, and I read it. It just clearly states that the 14th Amendment was never ratified. So what does that mean? If we're already not U.S. citizens, do we need to go through?
We're not even sure if the 13th Amendment itself was ratified either. So, I mean, and I'm not even sure if the people they say wrote the Constitution ever existed. So, I mean, and that's the other thing, too. When you start to study history, I mean, we talk about the idea of the 14th Amendment changing, kind of being a game changer. Whether the U.S. started out as a corporation and didn't do it in a malicious intent, just to operate as a business, and then somehow there was a corporate takeover of the corporation potentially. It seemed like that all kind of stems around the Civil War time period, Restoration, and your 14th Amendment, all in that time period. It seemed like the Act of 1871, it seemed like a lot of those things would correlate to officially going into a real true corporation. Now, I mean, obviously when you're calling yourself a president, maybe there was a corporation aspect to it when it first started. But a lot of people are talking about prior to the 14th Amendment, prior to the creation of the U.S. citizen, that there was a status that existed, whatever that status might be, whether it's American citizen or a state national, whatever. People are saying that they were self-sovereign, self-governing.
Well, you look at the definition of jus soli. Jus soli in Black's law and Bouvier's law states, you know, someone that's born on their state, or their state is a national of their state they were born on. And
yeah, but I don't know that this stuff was actually written out. Is kind of what I'm getting at. And then
which
the other
part?
thing,
What do you mean exactly?
Well, so the idea of us talking about prior to the 14th Amendment, us being self-sovereign, self-governing individuals. From what I'm looking at with history, I'm not seeing that. What I'm seeing is from us going from colonies to states and forming the United States, declaring our independence. You either had money and plantation and you could put people to work, or you didn't. And the people that didn't, a lot of times chose to be indentured servants. So if you weren't forced into slavery, you chose to go into slavery. If you didn't have money, there really wasn't much of an in-between in this area. It wasn't a lot of ways for people to move forward. To me, it was like, and I may be wrong, I was talking to Eric about this. It seemed like once we got into the Industrial Revolution and there started being mass jobs, that people started to be able to get off of what they considered to be the plantation, but really they just got on a bigger plantation.
Well, you know, it's hard too, because remember when we did all that stuff with Ralph Ellis, how history can be manipulated, and dates and whatnot, and so it's really tough to really discern what's real in our history, right? Because it's his story. We really don't know what parts of it. I mean, that's why going to microfiche might even be the best thing. You know what I mean? Go to the local library. And
Welding Man had an interesting comment. I'm not really going to comment too much on it, except for to say no.
Welding Man must be very new to your content and our videos here.
Well, in that particular regard with Fool's Gold, I removed the interviews from my channel, and then the videos where I challenged him were the videos that they were trying to get me for copyright violation, saying that I had their copyrighted material and I needed to remove the video, and they were going to give me strikes if I didn't. I had to get 2 strikes to appeal it, and then had I done that with the Max Egan thing, I would have lost my channel. So when I decided to go ahead and do what was in my best interest for the channel moving forward, I went ahead and removed the 2 videos in question, so I didn't have the strikes. And then I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna just go ahead and remove the interviews too. I know they're on your channel still. They're still on my Odyssey and my library, but they're not on YouTube. So I'm not trying to eat, because I don't want people to think that I'm endorsing him by watching those videos on my channel.
Yeah, so I hear you.
I'm actually going to do a follow-up, kind of talking about things. It does look like he did put out a new video. It does look like he stopped copying my hair, which I'm happy to hear that.
What?
My hair.
What do you mean?
Hold on, I'll show you what I mean. Let me find it. What is?
While you're looking that up,
whose channel? Do you remember?
Winnie the? Oh no, I don't. Grammar something. I don't know. I don't know it offhand.
Yeah, find it by her name.
So what is
They did a video with Sasha Stone, and
who did?
Fool's Gold.
Oh yeah, he also did one with Mel. It's weird. This is like a Mandela effect. His name used to be Mel Fabregas, but Veritas Radio, not Project Veritas.
Oh no, is this the Street Fighter guy?
No.
Okay.
This is Mel Fabregas, but now it's Mel something else, and that was really weird because I subscribed to his show. His channel got taken down, so he just does little intros on YouTube. But anyway, it used to be Mel Fabregas, and then he interviewed him. Someone recommended him, and I was going to forward it to you, but I never got around to it. But either way, I was going to email Mel and email him your videos of the developments, our series on Russell, so you can see the developments.
I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I just had to get it all pulled up to where I can make sure when I do the screen share, it's all there. So bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna.
No worries. Well, while you're doing that, I wonder, what do we perceive the constitutions are? Right. The way I comprehend them are their contracts.
Social contracts.
The way I comprehend them is that they're contracts, service contracts of the foreign government, which would be the Queen and the Vatican. And there's the 18 or 19 enumerated services. And that's all they're supposed to do is provide those services. But they've been in breach of trust and breach of contract. And obviously way overstepped their boundaries. And so that's all that is. All the Constitution is the contracts that they're supposed to adhere to and abide by. And obviously they're not. It's almost
like a social compact agreement in a sense.
Yeah, well, when you read,
but then again,
read the definition, it says that
is it written for us? Was we the people that wrote it and didn't include anyone else but them? There's a lot of question when it comes to that. That's why, in a sense, I'm getting away from this idea of restoring the republic. We could take a lot of these ideas and form something new, but going back to something that and trying to fix it, it doesn't seem to me to be the most effective way. Now, again, I mean, I'm still on this journey learning. I mean, when I first got into looking into this, I came at it from a very patriotic perspective, saying this is the American thing to do. But then I'm like, what really is America? What really is the United States? Like, what does this all really stand for? So
well, I mean, it's
made
the
me
whole
think
world.
that.
I mean, I mean, we can just call it to designate a location on this, globe or flat piece of or a flat piece of land for some, whatever you want to call it, flat or round. It's a mass that we can designate, just like a name, right? I'm not my name, but in order to signify a location in a state of being,
Do you see
I'm
this?
known as Stan. Hey, look at that!
You see this?
I think he's trying to gain some Rice popularity. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, for some reason, he was trying to like jack my
Does he look like a little
hairstyle.
Pee Wee Herman right now? Is he looking like with suspenders and everything, with little Pee Wee Hermanish there?
They're not. It looks more like a bowling shirt, not. But I
You know
get what
what?
you're saying.
Actually, right now, you guys look like brothers.
It's sad. I know.
Are
dude.
you sure you guys are not related?
Well, if I could have copyrighted my hairstyle, I would get him for copyright infringement, like he was trying to do to me, which is hypocritical as hell. But I haven't seen these two. He's got 2 new videos. Someone was saying this one reminded them of the WWF, like WWE wrestling. They needed to take acting lessons. I haven't seen these, but I do see that he has stopped copying my hair, which I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I definitely do appreciate that. And I want to make sure people are subscribed over to your channel, man, since you haven't been as active. For people that are new to Stan and Bodhisattva Love, go check out his channel. And then towards the end of our conversation, we're going to be sharing some social media sites that a friend of Stan's has been working on and creating. And we're just going to wait more towards the end of the video so that the people that are watching are more serious people that would be interested in checking out these platforms. And when we get to that area, I'll have Stan kind of explain a little bit more about what's being built and all that good stuff.
I'll tell everybody, a couple, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I demonetized everything on my channel.
They did?
I do not want to. Yeah, I don't want to give any more money to YouTube. I try not to watch videos on YouTube anymore. I try not to give YouTube any more of my time. Facebook, Twitter. I'm literally trying to unplug because these are the platforms that aren't doing us any kind of service. So hence later when we go over these other platforms, I'm literally trying to unplug from these things that are not serving us at all, like literally. And
I get you. Now, let me tell you, I mean, I get what you're saying. And I've been looking at this argument. One, you can stop running ads on your channel and not make any money, but YouTube can still run ads and make money. So you're not doing anything to hurt them by just giving, not taking any sort of earnings from them in that capacity. And then
I don't know if they are running ads on mine. I'd have to watch a video, I guess,
nothing that prevents them. There would be nothing that would technically prevent them. I've seen them demonetize channels and still run ads on those people's channels where the channels cannot earn any money at all, any revenue at all, ad revenue, period. But yet there's still ads being run. So really, in that sense, you're just spiting yourself in that sense.
Not really, because I'm taking it a step further. So what I'm going to do, I haven't done it yet. I didn't even announce it until now that I demonetize. But I will put out a 30-day announcement that I'm going to move all my videos over to VidTube, and I will delete my YouTube channel.
This is what we do. This is what we do for work. We create content and try to bring freedom.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to disconnect literally from YouTube and not give them any of my time or energy whatsoever.
Now, the other thing I was getting at, and this is the thing. Now, I'm going to be shifting my focus in some areas when I'm being attacked more by YouTube. But in a way, and we've talked about this, if you're trying to reach people that need to hear what you're talking about, then being on a platform that's kind of in an echo chamber where you're just talking to people who are already familiar with the content, already familiar with this idea of freedom and a lot of these things, you're not reaching anybody new. YouTube, and this is what sucks. This is what really truly sucks, because here on YouTube, we're having to self-censor ourselves, but it is the second largest search engine. It's not even a search engine. It's the second largest search engine, though. So the traffic that comes through YouTube, at the very minimum, Stan, what I would encourage you to do, which is my last resort when they start screwing with my channel more, is just releasing videos on YouTube saying, hey, I got a new video out on such and such about such and such. Go check it out, because it's not going to be here.
Yeah, that's what
and you're just redirecting traffic. You're using YouTube, the platform itself, because it's got a lot of users, a huge search engine. People are going to be looking for information, and you're pushing people to other platforms. But if you don't do any of that, they don't even know you're there, and then you just become a ghost. Right. And that's what what they want. That's what the governments want. That's what the YouTube wants. They want people like me and you to not use their platform.
Well, people like me and you, right? And this is where it's the hard part is that those who need to know, that want to communicate, are going to not support, and this is just an idea, everybody's going to do what they're going to do. But imagine if, gosh, there's so many people that are aware now, if they literally unplugged from Facebook, Twitter, canceled those accounts overnight, and moved, because you got what, 20,000? If let's just say half of those saw a video over 30 days and said, hey, I'm moving over to whatever, strictly to this platform. And now they know that's where they're going to go get the content. All it is a matter of clicking. That's it. Clicking from here to here. Right. Yeah. And then those people are going to share with their friends of where to find that content, just like they did with YouTube. So I get what you're saying, but it's
keeping you in an echo chamber in that sense, though, because it's just people who are familiar. It's
for a period of time,
right?
For a period of time, because eventually, just like, look at all the big hitters that were on YouTube that have huge followings on like BitChute now, and all these other platforms that they got deplatformed from YouTube. Well, all these followers, they just followed them right over there, right? So that's the only difference is it's going to take time, but if we don't stop feeding the beast, we're continuing to feed the problem. Now, Trump, right? Trump's got that thing he came out with to go after social media. And it's their corporations. So corporations live off what? Profits.
Right. Now,
the more profits.
So what are your thoughts? Have you looked into what Trump is doing with those lawsuits and how it may or may not be something that we can utilize as a precedence being set?
I haven't looked into it. I just saw.
It's not as if, because what would be really cool if Donald Trump was doing this would to make this a class action lawsuit and say anybody else who's had any problems, come join the suit. But this is Donald Trump versus. This is just for Donald Trump. Like, it doesn't really include anybody else who's been censored. It'd be much more beneficial if you would see him get together and join forces with other people.
What he said is join whatever the website is, it says join Trump in this. Does that mean that, all those content creators that were deleted can piggyback off that lawsuit?
I don't believe so. Let me look something up here.
They should, right?
I'm just use Facebook, since it's much more than that, though. It's like Twitter, Google. And then you got to think of like Facebook. These corporations, though, they could, in a sense, depending on how things go, they could bankrupt Donald Trump with a lawsuit like this. Because I guess these guys, the Google corporation has way more money than Donald Trump has ever thought about ever having in his life.
Well, he better have some good attorneys, right? Unless he's going to present himself.
I imagine he will.
He's not. I'm probably not.
Let's see here. Trump suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google, as well as their respective CEOs. Preferred social media. Trump's preferred social media outlet to one term. Twitter. He's talking about Twitter here. Being banned from Twitter. It doesn't look like it's like any sort of class action lawsuit. I think it's, if there's anything saying like follow Trump or something, like join Trump in this, it's probably just to support what he's doing.
What I saw was a class action. That's how it looked described on the video that I saw on BitChute a couple days ago. I posted it in the Freedom Mastermind group. But yeah, I didn't look into it. I just saw that video and really didn't do any research on it.
And I'm curious too, like how the what the governor in Florida has done for social media, how that would affect somebody who lives in Florida who's being censored by these platforms. I wonder how that would work out. That's going to be curious.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how all this might work out. I mean, it seems that everything that all these big corporations get tried for. When's the last time we've seen anything big go against any of these corporations? Ever? How many years has it been?
There's a pro-Trump nonprofit group that's supporting the lawsuits. So maybe this isn't even coming out of his pocket.
Could be. He's got a lot of supporters.
It says here he made the announcement at his golf club alongside two leaders from the American First Policy Institute, the pro-Trump nonprofit group that is supporting the lawsuits. But I'm not seeing anything here like in this particular article, and I'm looking at a CNBC article. Am I sharing it or am I? No, I'm not sharing it.
No, it's not being shared.
I wasn't sharing it because I was trying to read through the article and see if I've seen any of this information, but I didn't really see anything. So I'll scroll down to the comments to see if anybody has any comments on that. But I was just curious. I mean, it would make more sense for it to be a class action lawsuit and allow people to join up with it, or Donald Trump to join up with existing class action lawsuits. And that would make sense too. But
I'm trying to see what that video was.
Interesting note, America's foundation is the 13 colonies, and this is episode 13.
Oh, yeah? All right. Yeah. Did somebody put that in the comments?
Cameron 830, I just highlighted it, said America, not about episode 13. I was just correlating that. Miss AJ says, I guess this is a land of Oz, Aussie thing. Once you go flat, you never go back.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole debate.
Yeah,
on
I mean, that's
one.
something I had to do a little bit more research into the Donald Trump suit. But yeah, dude, I mean, like the way the censorship stuff is going in a way, and deleting people's channels and getting people frustrated. It's really deterring people from wanting to continue using YouTube. And that's the reason why I want to continue using YouTube, is because I want to use the tools of the system against itself and be able to reach new people, and then still be pushing the fact that I've got exclusive content over on Odyssey and Library, and then going to be trying to replace my Patreon with a video on demand site that just takes out another point of failure. Because I brought on Jay from Spiritually Raw. I haven't put the interview out publicly. We did an interview, I think it was Thursday, and they've had their channel removed again
off YouTube.
So, yeah, and
again, removed once, and then they got removed a second time.
Yeah, and my friend Jean-Claude from Beyond Mystic, I was doing a Friday show with him and Litecoin Lisa and Crypto Blood called Beyond Crypto, and that channel was his backup channel. His original channel got deleted, and then he got deleted again a few weeks ago. Beyond Mystic 2. Now he's got Beyond Mystic 3. And with Beyond Mystic 2, he was being really, really careful about not having people say things that they shouldn't say. He was really, really strict about it in that aspect because of what happened to him the first time. And even though that's the case, he still woke up, didn't have any strikes on his channel, didn't have any warnings, and they just deleted the channel.
But this is my point. Why? You know what I mean? Like, Why are you asking? It's like asking permission and then just getting your hand slapped.
No, I get it, dude.
You know, don't support them. You know, I mean, eventually that's where I'm going, is literally going to delete my YouTube. That's just my stance, right? That's just my stance, because I do not want to support any of these corporations. There was a point in my life when I did that to Walmart. It didn't exist. So if I just say Walmart doesn't exist, I just don't go there. You know, it's like it doesn't even exist. It's there, but I never enter. And that I did that for like 2 years, right? So it's the same thing.
Right.
It's just like this entity does not exist, and I do not utilize it. Just like certain things in my life that I don't do or I don't use anymore. That I used to. And it's just making that conscious shift. It's like food, like David Avocado Wolf said, you can have the best food in the world in this hand, and then you have the crappiest food in this hand. The only difference is your choice, right? Which one you choosing. And that's it. It's just a choice. And I get it. You got 20,000 subscribers. That was a lot of work, to get to that point. But if you did it over for the people out there that do it, say, hey, just to make the announcements over a month or two, and this is what you're doing, and let the people know, then those who are really truly followers and subscribers and really because you got great content, you're doing real stuff. And you can see there's not that many people out there that are doing what you're doing. There are, but in the capacity that you're doing it, right? You're really asking hard questions, you're digging, you're doing real work, and people appreciate that. You can see it by the people that comment and follow. They love your work, and I do too. I get the advantage of like you being able to do all that hard work while I can do other things, right? So I don't have to duplicate what you're doing because you're good at what you do. Right. I'm not good in that realm, right? So you're very good at it, and so I appreciate you for that. You know what I mean? And keep on keeping on, brother. But I would like to see a time where we can literally disconnect ourselves from all these corporate conglomerates that have, are holding us, by the neck and saying you can do this and you can't do that. And we just destroy them by, what do they say, voting with our dollars, right? So.
But with a bullet is the way I like to say it. But
yeah, if we could have the silver bullet, just kind of disconnect from them and stop supporting it altogether, that would be great. That would be the ultimate goal.
No, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, man. And it really sucks that we are somebody was commenting here that the U.S. is more powerful, or that Google is more powerful than the U.S. I mean, we're getting to a point where the corporations are running things. I mean, with what they did with Parler, I mean, you would have thought the American government, congressmen, senators, somebody would have stood up and been like, no, this is not cool. Like, you can't do this. This is going against the First Amendment.
Well, let's look at the big picture. It's not really the corporations. It's the ones who created them or bought them out, right? So it's like we could have created one of the greatest things in the world, Rice, but if we weren't aware and someone comes to offer us, hey, we'll give you X billion for your company, right? You're thinking, man, I could retire. I could do whatever I want. I'm done. Well, then they take it over, and then now they rewrite the charter, and then now they own it, and they do whatever they want. That's what they do with everything. They buy them out, and now they control it. And it's not the corporation, it's the people pulling the strings. We got to remember that. It's those big, those powerful people that we don't even know their names that are sitting in the back end that are delegating and directing how they want this.
That is a lot of problems too within our government and a lot of governments, is that you have unelected individuals that are doing a job, that are hired, that people don't know who they are, or they just aren't very public, but like they're the ones pulling the strings. They're the ones running things. Those are the background.
Sitting in their castles on some remote island somewhere, calling the shots. And we don't even know who they are. These people are getting their payment. That's all they're getting. Hey, I get to sit in my, $300 million mansion over here in this, beautiful space, as long as I do what my boss tells me to do. And I get to live in the lap of luxury and, break laws and whatever.
Be a good little citizen.
Exactly. While us, as they consider the paupers or the peasants, until we wake up from that, then, we just kind of do their bidding or obey their statutes and codes that don't even apply to us once we realize who we are, figure that out. And that's the big thing that I've been doing, is really learn how to live in that capacity, from this simple things is how am I being addressed? Are they addressing me at my home address?
Speaking of address, and I'll vouch for Stan on this. People have been asking me, I'll probably do an update video talking about where I'm at with my journey of status change. But I was mailing something out to Stan, and I have no problem saying this out loud because I'm not giving away any public information. But Stan's like, just mail it to my name, which would be not including his last name or his surname. It would be his given name and a general delivery address in the city and state and corporate zip code. But you had it written in a different way. So I mean, Stan is really truly, and I'm like, dude, I just want to make sure this package gets to you.
I'm
Like,
like, yeah, you said I've
are
learned.
you
I've learned
sure
so much.
general delivery is going to work? And yeah, I mean, you were able to get the package. And I didn't send it to what we would consider to be an address. It was just general delivery. It was like you had an invisible post office box.
Yeah, there's another step beyond that I haven't practiced yet. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a post. I don't have a military post where I'm being addressed, right? Because I'm a non-resident transient.
And this right here was a letter that you had mailed to me. And if somebody emails me, I'll send information on it. But you were able to send me. I blocked out our information so people wouldn't see it. But you were able to send me a letter, not using a stamp. And then in the letter, you gave information about from the post office where this comes from. So this right here is. Did you use this isn't like you cut yourself and you made a thumbprint of your blood. This is like red ink, right?
Yeah, it's a red thumbprint pad. I didn't actually cut my finger.
And why did you, just so I can ask and people can see this, why did you specifically use the color blue with signing this?
Well, the way I comprehend it is that's my lawful person doing business. Right?
Your non-legal fiction.
Right. My living lawful business entity doing business, right? And then my thumbprint is my living stamp and seal. That has worked. I'm actually working with the post office, the postmaster now, because he's trying to deny me my right to general delivery as a 30-day limit, which it's been over 2 months. So he gave me a deadline of the 31st. I literally just mailed off my letter to him and the supporting evidence that 30 days only pertains to the holding of the mail. And 30 days, there is never no time limit on general delivery. If I were a homeless man, I can receive general delivery as a permanent indefinite service. And if you look up Article 503 something something, general delivery is for people who do not want to accept post office box or any other service as unreasonable service. And so I'm unemployed without fixed income and I have no fixed address. So general delivery pertains to me. And I have all the supporting evidence and tax laws and the post office, being ordained by the Congress and Constitution, and they swore an oath to uphold that. So this is the only postmaster that I've had to deal with this. So I'm in correspondence with him to work that all out.
So I'm just kind of showing this so people can get an idea of what this is. And then I showed the information from the post office as well, where you're able to do this. And I told you, I was like, I want you to, in a way, I would like for you to send me like a box of rocks or trash and I'll just throw it away.
Yeah, I'll send you a package. There's I haven't sent you all the research I did on it and all the stuff that I've gathered. I'll send you that whole package. I've been working on a lot of different avenues of research, and I'm trying to find
as a foreign entity, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm foreign to the United States. That's why on there the way that's addressed is actually changed because I've done more research and found more information. So the way I address it is definitely different. So if I send you something, I'll send you something next. You'll see how it's addressed as rural free delivery pertaining to the way the rural routing codes go.
A couple people I know I've sent copies of this where I just, like I said, just took out our addresses so that any information that was considered to be private. But it's interesting the things that we're learning, and there's so much out there. It's all lawful if you're doing it in the correct way, which is what's really powerful.
And you got to know how to stand on it correctly. That's one of the major keys to all this. Because when you're being trespassed upon, if you don't really know how to, I watched your video with Robert Michael. You know what I mean? And it'll be interesting to see how his scenario plays out for him with what he knows and how far he gets. About the arrest. Correct.
So we're going to do a follow-up next week because I wanted to make sure that people didn't think that like, oh, Robert Michaels doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or he wouldn't have, this situation wouldn't have escalated and gone as far as it did. And right after that live stream, I talked to him, and this is where I said we need to do a follow-up next week just to kind of reiterate this, but because I'm probably going to bring on, I've got an interview scheduled for the millionth time. If he keeps it, hopefully he will now, because he reached out to me, that Paul Unslaved dude.
Oh yeah, Paul Pablo.
Yeah, Paul Pablo, Remington, Jones, Steele, whatever, all this string of names he's got
all over the place.
Well, yeah, well, he was able to successfully get out of a traffic stop. Now, I feel his attitude wasn't like the most pleasant. He was kind of abrasive and a little confrontational with the situation. And I was asking Robert Michael, I'm like, could you not have just talked your way out of this and not let it gone this far? And he says absolutely, that he wanted this to challenge the system. He's using this. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you're successful in court, from what I'm starting to comprehend from a lot of other people, is if you have a success in court, they're going to do everything that they can to not make that information public. So it's kind of, in a way, and that's what I'm telling him, it kind of defeats the purpose challenging court if court's just going to bury it, unless you were to like talk to media, get people out to the courthouse, like bring some attention to what's going on so that other people are aware of it. Otherwise, you go in there, you win, they pretend like you didn't win, and there's no record of it.
Exactly.
And then so, you know, and ultimately, I don't want to be in a position where when I make this jump that I'm having to constantly deal with these situations of going to court and challenging the system. I'd like to know, and this is the reason why I haven't gone through any particular method yet, is that when I speak to a law enforcement officer or to a judge or something like that, that I know with beyond a shadow of a doubt what my rights are and how to handle myself correctly. That way I don't have to, because like me and you have learned, if you've got to go to court, you've already lost. You screwed up somewhere.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what I've been doing, is educating myself, because, you know, that's the most important key. Now, Robert Michael did mention the Eddie Craig video. I have listened to that probably 20 times over. I continue to listen to it and read the scripting part, because I really like the method of how you're always asking the questions and all you're doing is invoking your fundamental right? And all they can do is, all the evidence will prove that all you're doing is invoking your fundamental rights. And every question that you ask implicates the crimes that they are or will have committed during the process. I haven't shared that with you yet. I have like 18 to 20 files of Supreme Court cases and definitions. I actually carry around laminates. Hold on one second. I'm going to grab it.
Okay, cool. All right, so anybody who's watching this, again, if you have not gone over to Stan's channel, Bodhisattva Love, if you're unfamiliar, make sure you're heading over there. And if somebody wants to see those interviews that me and Stan did with Russell J. Foolsgold, you're more than welcome to see that on Stan's channel as well, because they are not on my YouTube. They are on my Odyssey and library. Yeah, so I do have Paul Enslaved this week and a few other people scheduled. I'm going to be concentrating more on making sure I'm getting exclusive content, early access stuff on Patreon. So for anybody who wants to support what I do, you can join me on Patreon. I'm going to be probably doing like a weekly or a daily diary series. And then I'm going to be, obviously right now, the interview with Jay Matter from Spiritually Raw is up there. I'm going to be interviewing Paul Enslaved on Monday, and that'll be up there on Monday. Not sure when these will be released on YouTube or other channels. And then I'm going to be starting to take some of these interviews and content that I'm making and not even putting them on YouTube and putting them on Odyssey and library exclusively, because I do want people to make sure that they're following me on Odyssey and library, where you can also follow Bodhisattva Love. We got backups of all of our content there. I'm posting up extra content. It's where you can find me. I would 100% focus on Odyssey if I knew the audience was going to be there, which is the reason why I continue to work on the YouTube thing, as we just mentioned. So I was just killing time.
Well, you know what I would suggest, Rice? I would suggest that you just start saying, hey, this is my plan. Maybe it's a 2-month or 3-month plan. That way you've got the time to get all those 20,000 when you can to see the videos, and they know that, hey, listen, your goal, and this is just a suggestion, is this is what I'm going to do, is to move away from YouTube, right? And all these platforms. I'm literally going to delete my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those controlling accounts, right? So I'm going to delete all those and then move to these other platforms, which we're going to go over here in a little bit, that are now available to us that aren't, tracking and doing all those things that these, other platforms are doing to us, right? But real quick, this is what I carry around. This is my initial
solo
declaration of nationality. This is my FOIA request that I did in 2017, declaring myself as a national.
And that's prior to with Kelby, right?
Right. And
now,
that just
technically, from what I'm understanding, though, that would have, if that was done the way that it was all spelled out, that would have changed your status to American citizen or
national. Yeah. American national. That's how it's described in this 28, 30 page. Yeah. And this is a FOIA request, Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. So I carry this with me, right? And then, the last thing that I want to do is give anything to the officers. I just want to communicate with them and ask questions, right? So what I'll do is I'll post the Eddie Craig video and the links to the scripts there, and you guys can watch it for yourself so you can see how he goes through the process, and if it makes sense to you, you can try to utilize it, because there's many ways to do this. I actually had a guy who corrected his status here through the assembly with me. I was his recorder, and he called me the other day. He goes, hey man, I got a story I want to tell you. He was traveling through Texas, and he did parts of this method, but he got a warning and the cop let him go. And so I was like, hey, that's great, man. That's awesome to hear. And so there's many ways to go about it, but there's always a better way. And if you do it right, you can literally go home every time and you'll never have to deal with any of it. It's just a matter of assessing yourself, assessing the situation, and always invoking your fundamental right and standing on them, and never consenting to giving up your rights. And once you do that, it's over. And then you have to go through the whole process of going to their courts because you've consented and contracted with them. But you don't want to be combative. You don't want to be combative. You don't want to argue. If they do break your window, you always want to have it recorded, and you want to make sure they're recording. So, simple things. The first thing you want to do is you want to ask, hey, officer, make sure you're recording. May I have your name and badge number, please? Right? Because you want to develop the body of evidence so that way when it goes to court, if you have to go there, there's no question of who's who and what's what. So every question you ask, you're asking officer, like Eddie Craig says, Officer Davis, badge number 123. He says, is there an emergency and how can I help you? After you ask his name, right? And you always want to ask him also, are you recording and is your audio and video working properly? That way you have him agreeing, saying, yes, it is, or it's not. Because if it is, he says it is, and it goes to court, and he says he doesn't have the audio and video, well, there's strike one, right? Because he admitted that it was working, now it's not there. So what happened? And in front of a jury, right, what's going to happen? That's going to be a little fishy, right? So there's strike one against him. And asking him simple things and just go through the process. And you're building the body of evidence against him. So I think it's really good. But here's some things that I created for myself after I would go through the script. If the officer, to make him feel a little more appeased, because they don't know this stuff. Some do, some don't. I have, definitions here with the highlights that make it really clear. This one here is as, motor vehicle. Used for commercial purposes on the highways, used for commercial purposes for profit, right? And that's the definition of motor vehicle. So if you're using that term or the word driver, which by Black's Law here, see it there, and it says one employed. Well, I'm not employed, right? So I can't be a driver and I can't be in a motor vehicle because
is a car like the same thing as what you mentioned in the first part there?
It doesn't mention car. It's just the word. That's why they have Department of Motor Vehicle, right? So it's their terms and definitions. That's what jurisdiction is. Juris, the right law, and diction is the use of words.
Right.
So the use of words within that law. And so in their jurisdiction, black letter law or Black's Law, that's what they go by in Uniform Commercial Code. Then I have Supreme Court cases and Uniform Commercial Code definitions here. So that's just something to reference. Then I've got the The one, this is a letter from Norv Eisenberg. Apparently he worked for the Department of Travel. And this is a letter to the governor of North Carolina about nationals having the right to travel. And then there's a fee schedule that he created. And one of them is, malicious prosecution, unlawful incarceration, peonage, slander.
Part of the assemblies?
No, this was actually a dude that worked for the United States Department of Travel. This was a letter that's out there online. I looked up his name. I tried to contact him, but still haven't received a call back. But good luck trying to get with anybody, even with the Florida Highway Safety Motor Vehicles.
So you're saying that's a government employee that put out information to help people that have been researching this, and he set a fee schedule that allows for the people who are stopped or whatever the situation may be unjustly for them to be able to get compensation for that.
It says right here, in order to educate your law enforcement regarding foreign nationals or American nationals in your state, you can call the Department of State here in Washington, D.C. to get clarity on, or you can go to Department of State's website and there's a link there. Now, I don't know. This was in November 23, 2015. I've been meaning to send this to you, but I wanted to finalize a couple things before I get it out to you. But I'll
People are asking that you post that Eddie video.
Okay, I will. So I mean, here's what my goal is to do, right? If this is fraud and there's Supreme Court cases and these definitions, why can't I just go to, and if anybody out here can assist in this matter, I'm actually in communication with Dwayne with the Bill of Rights office. Dwayne Kirkland. Have you heard of him yet? I mentioned him to you before. Mm-hmm. And so he's apparently made a lot of headway with certain cases. He kind of monitors, judges and attorneys and stuff to make sure they're staying constitutional within these cases. And so I want to talk to him and anybody here, like all the people you interviewed. How do we go about taking this body of evidence, doing an affidavit or a living testimony? A living testimony in the form of an affidavit, that's just as a living man, right? That's the only difference between an affidavit in their language and a living testimony in the form of an affidavit is just stating that I am a living man making a testimony in the form of an affidavit, right?
Right.
So if I take this body of evidence and I do that, who do I take it to? Can I take it to the Supreme Court? Do I take it to my sheriff? And I just say, hey, sir, I don't even call him sir. I just say, hey, Sheriff Chronister, that's the one for Hillsborough. I have done some research and have found this discovery of all this body of evidence on this right to travel, Supreme Court cases and definitions. And if I take that to them and I do a copy to the Attorney General, I notice the Attorney General, the mayor, the governor, everybody that needs to know, and I say, look, can you please, help me comprehend why this is, this information here is valid, and why am I not able to travel without being harassed, right? Or however we word this. And we submit that testimony in the form of an affidavit, and they have to rebut that the way I comprehend it, right?
Well, I mean, I wonder if you take that information that you've got compiled there and maybe a little bit more information as well, just kind of putting your ducks in a row and get with your locally elected sheriff and then going to the Department of Motor Vehicles and speaking with the top cheese dog that's in the house,
that's my plan, and that's what
and saying like, look, I know that these are within my rights. I'm not coming here to be combative. I'm coming here so I can have a better comprehension of this because I'm going to do it. And you're going to have a lot of other people doing it as well.
Right.
So
and that's what we're supposed to be doing in the assembly.
Want to make this a problem for everybody, or can we make this easy for everybody? Because it's within our rights. Since it's within our rights, we want to know how we can make sure that
we're going to work together
so that we can avoid being harassed. Because ultimately, your harassment is going to end in compensation on my end for taking away from my time.
Exactly, and that's where the fee schedule comes into place.
And you're saying that fee schedule was created by a government employee.
Yeah, I mean, the one that here, you'll see it when I send it to you, it'd be in the laminates. And what I did is I just made it two-sided, so it's not dual two papers. It's just one sheet, front and back. But yeah, I mean, why can't we just go this and say, hey, here's the supporting evidence. I'm not, doing anything that's without my rights per the Constitution, right? Fourth and Fifth Amendment. And here's the supporting evidence. How are we going to move forward here? So that's been part of the thing with the assemblies is our sheriff outreach is putting I still have to notice the Vicar General, the Secretary of State, the governor, the sheriff, the DMV, and to put all that supporting information, but I got to write it out. And that's what we encourage every new American, that's what we call them, new Americans, to do is send out the notices and say, hey, I've corrected my status. This is my status. And these are my fundamental rights. How are we going to move forward to make sure that I'm not being kidnapped per U.S. code, whatever that is, you know what I mean? And all the stuff that is happening out here. Because if you're truly a constitutional sheriff in working in your capacity under oath, in your public office under oath, then this should be clear because your oath was to protect the Constitution of the United States of America, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, dude.
So that's where the estoppel comes in. So the first thing you can do in an interaction is say, officer, what capacity are you here in? May I see your driver's license? Because I just need to know if you're in your private capacity or your public capacity under your oath of office as a peacekeeping officer, or are you in your private capacity as a police officer? So just, distinguishing those things right off the bat, because if he tells you he's operating in his public capacity under oath of office and you do go to court and he disagrees with that, he just created an estoppel and the case is dead. So that definition will be in the packet that I send you as well.
Can you see this comment I highlighted from Cheryl Williams?
Do you men have your BCs authenticated yet? Yes, I've had mine authenticated here. Actually,
what does it mean to have it authenticated, though?
You send it to the Secretary of State, and he confirms that that's an actual birth certificate that's been authenticated by Secretary of State. I think I showed you this in person, right?
Was that something that Kelby got you to do as well?
Yes, the authentication is part of that whole process.
Okay.
So on the back, you'll see where.
Yeah, I gotta try to get a copy of my birth certificate because all I have is my live.
You want to get the long form. So what they
have my live birth certificate.
Yeah, certificate of live birth. Yeah. So it's here, and then it's got this page here, and then when you get it, it'll have a folded corner. We can't see with it on the main copy. You can see it, but it'll have a folded corner of the authentication stamp. And so, that's basically what it looks like.
Cool.
How it works. Yeah.
Well, I know we were going to try to keep this around the hour and a half mark, so that would put us in the next 20 minutes or so. So I guess here in a minute we'll do a screen share with these sites, and kind of before we do, we'll kind of give a little explanation about some of it. I also wanted to ask you, I don't know how your schedule is looking, but I'd like to, just us talking is a lot of beneficial information. So I would like to be able to continue doing something with you on a regular basis, whether it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, but I would like
to. Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm pulled back and I'm trying to reassess. I was just so delved into learning and I beat myself up, man. I
get it. I get it, dude. I just miss working with you. And I gave you your little break, but we need to continue doing stuff. I mean, and I think a lot of people find it valuable. So, all right. So now you have this guy named Lewis. I don't know if you want to identify him any further than that. He's created some social media sites that would be alternatives for like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and even a Zoom replacement.
Yes,
where people can do video conferencing. The idea was from what my understanding was to give the people, not any particular group or anything like that, just give the people a place to have freedom, not be bombarded with ads, and then not also to be censored based off of saying something that doesn't go along with the platform's narrative. Yeah. No fact
Exactly.
check-in, no worrying about saying 17th letter stuff or talking about sticking people with needles and
V
stuff
word.
like that. Yeah.
The V word.
The V word.
Real quick, Cheryl Williams. Yes, I also did the same thing and sent that to a non-Hague country as well. I think it was Taiwan is who I had to send it to get authenticated. That was her question,
okay.
Cheryl Williams.
Yeah,
so that was done as well.
She seems to be very knowledgeable in a lot of aspects. And that's what I mean. I'm really fortunate. We're really fortunate to have awesome people that watch our content because I mean, I'm learning a lot from other people as much as people are learning from us. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's an ongoing cycle that we need.
Yep.
Okay, so
so you want me to screen share? I've got them pulled up. People can see what these look like.
Yeah, I guess because if you do it, it will. Because I don't have accounts. Because I already had them pulled up, but I don't have accounts.
Share.
So before, I want to tell people that we'll share the URLs. You're more than welcome to go join these platforms. It's brand new. There's kinks being worked out. So really what you would be doing is kind of be coming in as a tester, helping to make sure that there is no issues with the platforms. If you see anything wrong with the platforms, if you have any problems with the platforms, you can contact Stan. Stan can also mention other ways that you can reach out to be able to get information to the guy who's doing the actual building. Aside from that, it's just really trying to make sure that the way that he's got things set up are going to be able to handle the traffic. So that's why we're inviting anybody who's watching this. You're more than welcome to join the platform. And really, there's not going to be like censorship, but there's also going to be a line of stuff that you can't cross either. So, I mean, just think about natural law.
In the policies, that's all written. Obviously, if the people start to post,
no child pornography, no snuff films.
They'll get cut off. So there's going to be, things that you just can't do. It's just stuff that doesn't make sense will not be there, and it will be cut off. Of course, there'll probably be trolls and whatnot. And then we've talked about ways to combat and handle all that stuff. So he's got methods and ways to do all that kind of all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
but there eventually will be.
I was gonna say, as long as someone doesn't. Sorry. I was just gonna say, as long as people don't really cross any lines, like moral boundaries.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you don't need to say, fuck you, I don't agree with you. You can say, I don't agree with you because of this. Be a little bit more intelligent with what you're saying and offer people information as to why you don't agree. It just makes more sense because you may challenge somebody else's thinking, and what you say about disagreeing with something may allow for someone to think about it from a different perspective.
Well, how do we govern ourselves, right? We can govern the platform. If it's a platform that he created, he blocks the Google and Apple IPs. There's nothing that he wants to do with any of these corporations. He never wants to sell it out to somebody for money. It's not about money. He's a very good-hearted man, and maybe once we get this going, he's willing to come on and talk with us, me and you, Rice, to, talk more about the platforms or whatnot, because it's going to be really good. Eventually, here's how it's going to work. He's creating an email platform that will be one login for it's called FaceFeed, Chirp, and Assemblies right now. We're going to do a public one that is going to be equivalent to Zoom, and that one login gets you into all the platforms, so you don't have to have multiple logins.
There's also the VidTube too. So there's the
VidTube. I'm sorry, yeah. So in VidTube, you'll be able to stream from the Zoom equivalent straight live to VidTube. So I've been beta testing that out, and I'll have you beta test it as well.
So as we share these, FaceFeed is kind of the alternative to Facebook, a little different. Chirp is an alternative to Twitter, a little different. VidTube is an alternative to YouTube and a little different. And then Assemblies is which again will be also have a public version, is kind of like Zoom, video conferencing platform. And like Stan was saying, if you're using their video conferencing platform and instead of just recording the conversation and you want to go live, it'll already be set up with your account through VidTube. So you'll automatically be streaming live through VidTube. And me and Stan even made the suggestion about having live on Face Feed as well. So anybody who's on these platforms that have any suggestions, again, just reach out to Stan. And until Lewis wants to provide more information about going public with who he is, we're going to try to appreciate his anonymity as much as possible.
Right. And so eventually the idea is to have the email, like I said, to be one login for all the platforms. And we're going to have an email service. We don't know, it's going to be completely private. We don't know how that's going to look as far as free for how many gig, just like these other platforms, but it's completely private and not monitored. He doesn't care about collecting data or selling data or any about that stuff. And also he's working on an app which should be done in a couple of weeks. Would be like it's a map app. So let's say I'm driving down the street and Leo lights come on behind me. I hit that button, it can go out to you, Rice, and all the people I have in my contacts. And if you're available, you can be viewing live, and it can also stream live on VidTube and on a remote server. And now I can have 10, 20, 30, 3,000, 30,000 witnesses there with me at the time, right? And I can let them know that this is being recorded on a remote server and I have X amount of witnesses, right?
Yeah.
So that's coming out. That's going to be available hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But the email and that is going to be the first priorities. I talked to him last night, Rice, and our conversation helped funnel this down to that because we will be able to charge for that. It won't be an Apple app or an Android app. It's going to be a PWA, totally private, and that you'll be able to utilize it untracked. So it won't be controlled by any of the conglomerates, right? And so it might be, we don't know how much it's going to be for it yet, but it's a one-time, probably a one-time or a month. So we don't know how we're going to work that out, but it's something that'll be available to you guys here soon. And so we're excited for that one. You know,
that's cool.
'Cause that'll help a lot of us. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a long conversation, probably close to 2 hours because and I was just throwing in like, as things are being said, throwing in like, are you doing this? Have you checked out this? Blah, 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 blah. And, yeah, I felt like I texted you telling you I was trying not to overcomplicate things. It's just there's a lot
No,
of
not at all.
there's a lot of things, especially in the areas that we were talking about. There's just a lot of things that you got to make sure you're covering your ass, and if you don't, it's just going to come back and bite you in a really negative way. And it's if people can avoid those kind of problems, I just want to try to do everything I can to help people to be aware. So did you want to go ahead and do a screen share? Yeah.
All right. Share screen. Screen using, let's see here. Can you see it yet?
Not yet because you haven't picked what you're using. Don't do entire screen because then you won't be able to see. Let me stop my screen share so I can help you out here. So you press screen share and then you can either click the window you want, or if you're using Chrome.
Oh, can you see it now? Can you see it?
Hold on. No.
No? All right. So select window or screen. I'm only seeing.
What are you trying to share? Like, is it
files? I'm trying to share.
Is it Firefox? Is it Chrome?
Firefox.
So then, look at on the top of your the middle when you're pressing share, go to window because you see entire screen, window, and mine has Chrome tab.
It says window or screen.
Okay, so click on window and it should give you options.
It only says window or screen, but it doesn't give me to choose between a window or a screen. It just says window or screen.
If you do the entire, well, you gotta highlight which one. Are you highlighting it?
I got entire screen.
Okay, if you do entire screen, then just make sure you realize it's going to share your entire screen. So,
all right,
don't leave it on like, yeah, that's good. You just won't be able to see the screen. That's the only problem. What the hell happened there? Hold on. All right, I got it up.
Okay. All right, so this is the My Face feed, and you can just go to www.myfacefeed.com and you can create your profile. You know, you can see it looks similar to, there's the video that we're doing now. that I posted there earlier.
And this is face
And
feed,
there's
right?
this is my face feed, so the equivalent of Facebook. So you can go here.
Because what I want to do is copy the link off my browser, and I want to go ahead and drop it in the comments, and I'm going to highlight that comment so that people can see the URL. You're more than welcome to join. Again, just respect what's being done on the platform. It's a new platform. Again, any suggestions for improvements, any errors that you see, please, let somebody know. Contact Stan, and here I'll get Stan in a little bit to share his information. But
yeah, there eventually will be a wish list email, because this is I had mentioned to the creator that it would be nice to be able to have a wish list, and he loved it because it's going to be built by the people. So what features we want, you just submit them, and then we can add them, because he's literally the creator. So it's not going to be some corporation that only does what they want. We can make suggestions on how we want it, just like you, Rice, as a content creator for VidTube and the Zoom equivalent. You said, hey, can we work this in? And he'll just put it on the list to work it in.
right.
If there's any bugs, if you do an email or anything, just put bug fixes for the subject or wish list for the subject. And then we'll be able to separate those. But so this is the My Face feed. You can see you got your friends, you got photos, videos, pretty much the same thing. One feature I asked him to do was on the wall or the timeline is to be able to have categories. So let's say, Rice, you have your account and you do things on common law, you do something on Bitcoin or crypto. You can select the category. Someone coming to your page can select Bitcoin or crypto, and they'll only get all the crypto posts because you tagged it that way.
But you
So they won't
have
have
you have to create it yourself before it will do that, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do that now, but I suggested it and he loved the idea.
That's cool.
So that
like
way,
me having like three shows on my one channel, I could have like a tab for each separate one. I'm not sure why we get an echo here.
Exactly. But so yeah, anyway, that's that. If I go to, I don't know if it's cutting that off, but let me go to Chirp. So that's it. You can go to myfacefeed.com and check that out. There's also a marketplace. I don't know why I can't see the top to get to the homepage, but here's the what's that?
Is it developed?
Yeah, the marketplace is all ready to go.
Okay.
I'm just trying to
people are familiar with the idea of something called a Fediverse or Federation. This is what's being utilized to build this. There's a lot of open source technology. And when I say Fediverse, it's FEDI verse. And basically, and reading it from the Wikipedia definition, because this comes up, is it's an ensemble of federated or interconnected servers that are used for web publishing, i.e. social networking, microblogging, blogging, or websites and file hosting. But which, while independently hosted, can communicate with each other on different servers. Users can create so-called, it's really crazy. It's kind of like the idea of blockchain, but taking out the blockchain. Or if somebody is a little bit older and familiar with the idea of BBS systems with computers, where that was like BBS systems were like where people would basically call in directly from one computer to another computer, and they could share files and trade stuff. So it's pretty cool. That's what I really like this idea. And then, like I was telling Lewis, it'd be cool to somehow incorporate this into blockchain itself, beyond just being a distributed network on the internet, having even that redundancy of backup.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you'll like that idea. But one thing I want to mention, don't try to use the login with Facebook and Twitter. Those are going away because we want to have no connectivity, because if he does do that, then that gives them rights to have all the information, and he has to have an agreement with them. So these buttons, do not use them. They're not going to work. He's got to take those out.
He should. So we should tell him to remove them, because people may end up doing something. So he may. Well,
they don't work. They won't work. Apparently, he said they're there, but they don't work. So he's got to take them out. So once we get off the call, I'll let him know that we've done the video, that he should take them off pretty soon.
Okay. So this is my face feed, equivalent to Facebook.
Yep. So now we'll go to Chirp. This is Chirp, and you can see I posted our video on Chirp there. And he's got it set to 500 characters right now. What we're thinking about doing is doing 500 characters and then have a more button. So you can, if we want, we can go more, but we just want to keep the initial feed short, because that's the whole idea of it, is just to have these quick little excerpts or short things, and you don't want to be weeded out by all these long posts. So if we want, we can have a more button where it still be short, but then you hit the more and you can see the entire post. So we can always increase or decrease the number of characters. But right now it's set to 500.
And I know one of the things that Lewis was talking about, and again, this is very new, is creating like a one login system for all these different platforms, so that you would just have to create one account and you would be able to sign into all of the different platforms using that one account login.
Exactly.
But as of now, you would have to create separate accounts for
exactly. Then here is the VidTube. So that's obviously the YouTube equivalent. It's really easy to publish a video. Once you create an account, I can just copy this URL here like this. Copy it, go to VidTube, hit publish, and then hit with URL and just drop it in, paste it in there, and then import it.
Let me tell you something with that though, Stan, because I've learned this with doing like uploading on different platforms. If you do it the way importing with the URL, let's say you're doing it from YouTube and they delete the video, then it's no longer going to be available there because it's connected to a URL. If you want to make that's the difference with upload. That's the difference with upload file and import with URL. I've dealt with this, and this is where I told him I would tell him about some platforms in December 2019, when the crypto YouTube purge happened. I was using DTube, which was through Steemit. It's a blockchain based thing, and I was posting my videos using a URL. And when the videos got taken off of YouTube, they were gone from DTube.
Okay, so I'll ask him about that.
You have to directly upload the video in order for it to be saved. If it's connected with it, and that's one thing I would try to specify to people. Actually, what I would encourage them to do is not even use the URL and just make people upload the videos. That would just be my idea.
Well, that would be one thing. I asked him about that, but we didn't get specific on. So let's see if I go to publish.
And this is just.
I asked him about importing.
See me and you right now. They just see what
right
on your screen.
So I asked him about that. He said once it's uploaded, now I don't know if that means by URL, but I'll find out for sure that it's stored on his server. So, because I asked him if it gets deleted, will it be there? He said no, but I'll have to clarify between what you just said, because there might have been a miscommunication there.
Because if you think about it, if it's connected with the URL and the video gets deleted, the URL no longer exists.
Exactly. Now it might import the video with the URL, but it might store the video on his server still, is my point.
That would be cool. If it did that, that would be really cool. That would be.
I'll get clarity on that, and we'll talk about that in our next video if that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is it. You can see the videos that I've uploaded. If you guys get on here, you can just subscribe. You just create an account, and you can see all these things here. And what happens if you go to? Let me just go to the assembly. And right now, this was for the assemblies, but this is just the splash screen for that. There's going to be a public one that will have a totally different look, but it's simple. You hit start a meeting, and then now you can see it's starting the meeting, and here I am.
Oh, what's really cool about that, though, is it's letting you use your camera twice.
What did you discover about that when you used it?
Well, we did the flip thing, but I'm saying you're using right now, your camera is, let me see, hold on. If I go back to this screen, you can see yourself twice. It's weird. It's a slight delay, obviously, but did you just turn the camera off?
Yes.
Turn it back on. Because you're able to have two different things using the same camera source. Normally you can't do that. Normally if my camera is being used by StreamYard and I try to open up something that would require my camera, it would say my camera is being used. So it's pretty neat that we can, and since you didn't mirror it, it's showing you an opposite form. If you can't see it on screen, but if you go back and look, it shows. Now click the mirror, the flip button that we learned last night.
All right here, there's a little 3 dots, comes up with flip, and you can just flip the image.
Yeah, now you're in the same. Now you're the same way. Now you're opposite. Now you're same. Yeah. So
my hand? There go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's trippy, dude. So you're like you're live on two cameras at the same time, and then flipping inverted views.
So if you want to share this link, and so when I do videos with people, I'll just copy this link and email them this link, and then they get right in, and then it pops up in this window. And then you could have multiple windows here.
I was noticing if you just click on the assemblies.myfacefeed.com, where it has start meeting, it starts typing up a bunch of weird words that make no sense. Like this one says sensitive arts Delta.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what creates, like, if I hit start meeting, right, it creates it with that title. And then so it'll say possible arenas amount initially. So now remember, this is all just, imagine he's one man working on all these platforms, right? So he's got the foundations built. So now we just can tweak it from here on out. We just want people to get on to be like beta testers. So we can kind of like crash the system so you can see what kind of capacities he's had. I'm going to go ahead and
kind of tripping me out though, seeing you talking like to yourself and like having, you'll see what I'm talking about because there's two of you on the screen at one point, a bigger and a smaller. And it's like, they're mirroring each other's opposite. It was pretty cool.
A little bit.
So I did include links as we were talking. There's myfacefeed.com. And then the next one would be chirp.myfacefeed.com /about. Then the next one is vidtube.myfacefeed.com.
Right.
And then the Zoom alternative, which is like Jitsui or Jitsi, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a web-based, is assemblies.myfacefeed.com.
It's assemblies.myfacefeed.com.
For the VidTube one, what I'll tell people is when I mention the Fediverse or the Federation, if you're familiar with PeerTube, it's using the same technology, and probably what Lewis has done is taken some of the open source code from PeerTube in combination with other things to create his VidTube. But it makes it really easy for people to be able to take open source projects and be able to create something similar without having to be very knowledgeable in a lot of the coding aspects.
Yeah. He's pretty knowledgeable in coding, so he just basically, like I said, he can whatever wishes we want, what features we want, he can just add them. So if there's things that you want on our platform, this is the people's platform. This is it.
You mentioned the thing about the Google and Twitter APIs. What you're meaning is that those platforms aren't going to be able to send any of their bots that would basically be spamming or creating comments and stuff like that would relate back to. It's not that you can't post Twitter links, because if you want to share somebody's Twitter post, you can certainly do that.
Yes.
It just blocks the bots from those companies from coming in and trying to collect information, whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, private. They're private servers. You're not going to be bombarded with advertisements. You're not going to get bombarded with fact checkers that aren't fact checkers. And so it's, eventually we're trying to work out how to community fund it. But I think that the app, was what we talked about, is that the app that I mentioned, we'll call it the panic button app, if you will, for now. I told him that there's really nothing like it out there. So that could be what we utilize to fund all the projects.
Yeah, totally. And if he's going to have an alternative to Zoom, there's nothing wrong if Zoom is charging $12, $13 a month for him to charge $3 to $5 for people to use the Zoom platform. Now, obviously, there's a lot of free versions of Facebook and Twitter alternatives out there. So it's like, why would I pay to use something when I can use something for free? But in this aspect, you can see where the value comes in. And you don't, there's, aside from like Skype and Google Meet and stuff like that, you don't really have a lot of free services to be able to use for this. Now, and that it could be just like where Zoom, where you got a free account that allows you to record up to a half hour, because that's the other thing on his end is all of those recorded meetings get stored on his servers.
Right. So that means at a time he's going to have to purchase more capacity. So that's
or after a certain amount of time, purge them. Like, so with StreamYard, since StreamYard is web-based, they save my recordings for 30 days. After 30 days, they're gone.
Purged, yeah.
Because
and those are parameters we'll have to set. That'll be, instructed in the beginning. Hey, you can have access to this for this amount of days. If you want to upload or download your video to save it before 30 days, we recommend you do that. So there'll be a lot of things that will, the people can submit and help build this of how we want it. It's literally our platforms. The people's platforms.
Cheryl Williams is saying Stan is standing on a road less traveled. Have you seen Interstate 60? Great info in this movie. Learn about the usufruct. So I would definitely encourage people. I'll check out what Interstate 60 is.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Cheryl. Check that out.
Well, cool, dude. I know you got to be at work sometime soon. So you got anything you want to add before we wrap up today's video?
Let's say Warrior of Truth, add crypto tipping to it. So that's kind of what we talked about with Rice last night. We're trying to work some type of crypto coin into this, but that requires a lot that we're trying to work out those kinks. So down the road, that's something that
SEC not being a security, not violating any of those kind of things, versus remaining in the public and not making it a private thing.
Right. So we got some kinks to work out with that, but Warrior of Truth, definitely. Thanks for the suggestion. But thanks everybody for supporting Rice. He's doing great work. Keep on supporting Rice. If he does decide to move to off this controlled platform at some point, I ask everybody to please follow him, wherever he goes, so we can stop. He can actually communicate without having to be suppressed. And myself too, when I get back to doing videos and everybody else. And if you guys like the platforms that we shared here that are brand new, that we want to have, beta tested, please get on there, create an account, and help us work out the kinks and build a platform for the people.
Sweet, man. Well said. Well said. Well, I will, I guess we'll just wrap this thing up. I'll text you and we'll kind of figure out when we'll do the next stream and then kind of go from there. But if people want to email suggestions or anything, how can they do that?
Let's use, if they go to my YouTube channel right now, they can go to where should I put that in here? My email.
You can put it in the comments and then I can add it to the video description.
All right, here, I'll do it here.
You may have to add it to your video description, but
yeah, I'm doing it from the YouTube.
Okay, then I can highlight it as well. And
try to use the subjects of face feed, wish list, and face feed bug fixes, or anything like that. Bodhisattva Love. I think that's my email. I think that's it. There you go. It's in the comments now.
I'm waiting for it to pop up.
Right. Let's see here. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you got some.
There we are.
Got some good information out of today's chat with Rice.
Real quick, I'm gonna real quickly just look at the video description and just see if I have your email already put in here real quick, because that would save a lot of trouble. They've already we've got limited ad suitability. They've already demonetized for whatever reason today.
Are you serious?
Yeah, hasn't even finished and it's yellow. I'll appeal it and they'll say that my video is fine, because we didn't say anything.
Did that just pop up in your email?
No, I'm just looking at the video description in the back end of YouTube.
I gotcha.
Okay, so I'm going to try to see if I can copy and paste your address, but I can't copy it.
I'll post it in my description as well.
I'll get it put up. This lady's always got such a
cool
kinky. I don't know what's kinky, but I know what you're thinking, lady. That's the crazy Aussie lady I love. I love you, Miss AJ.
Yeah,
she's good people. She was the one who connected me up with Mr. Romley Stewart.
Okay, how is Romley?
I mean, he's not responding to me now. Like he did finally like send a message saying something like, "I'm not ignoring you," but because I've been trying to get him on the show, and he's not really accepting right now because I think he's really paranoid about stuff. He just says,
Now,
"Hey, I'm still alive." Lol.
okay. Did he put new videos out, or I thought I saw some new releases, but I don't know if they were new releases by him.
I think he had just done the one. Let me see. I'll pull up and look because there was one that was. Oh, there is another one. I didn't see that. There was the worm one that came out. I still haven't seen that one. There's one called "The Gods of Fiction Government" that came out 1 month ago, and Worm came out 2 months ago, and then the last one before that was 11 months ago, and that's like right around the tail end of the time period when Rohan got arrested. Lohan.
Oh yeah.
Lohan Rorian. Yeah, I always get dyslexic mixed up. And I think he's still in prison. So, I mean, that's been one of the concerns that Romley has had is not getting arrested.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're holding his partner, not his lover, but his work partner. Is the second half of Justinian Deception,
Right.
Deception, and holding him, as far as I'm concerned, with not really charging him with anything, and he's been held for almost close to, if not over a year. So I mean, Australia is getting really crazy. I feel like
Canada and Australia, yeah, they're getting pretty crazy. The UK, Dime Bar posted that video of Deborah Tavares. I used to watch her all the time, and it was some interesting stuff about the UK. He posted it on the Freedom Mastermind group.
Okay,
and watched that today. But yeah, interesting stuff what they posturing for in all these countries, and it's going to be interesting come this winter. I think I have no idea what's going to happen, but I think we're all moving forward towards a better tomorrow. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing here, and I'm keeping the faith, and we're gonna proceed forward in doing this
one way or another. 100%. All right, man.
Yep.
Well, I want to throw up the thumbnail and just encourage everybody to make sure that if you're not subscribed to both of our channels, make sure you subscribe. The links are down below. Smash the like button. It helps other people to see this information. Helps our video to kind of get through this algo flow on YouTube. And stay tuned. We're going to do this again soon. Other than that, I encourage everyone, everybody, be the change by practicing change.